Hello, everyone, and welcome back to English. In Fluency, I am your host, Alex, and today we have something very special for you. We are going to move beyond short sentences and quick phrases, and instead, we are going to dive deep into a full, real-life conversation from start to finish. If you have ever felt lost when two people speak quickly, or if you find it difficult to follow the story of a discussion, this lesson is designed exactly for you. We are going to build your complete understanding by listening to a detailed interaction between two friends named Sarah and Liam. They have known each other for years, and in today's story, they are dealing with a very common situation. Planning a big trip together, but things are not going exactly as planned. We will follow them from the planning stages, through the journey, to the mountaintop, and finally to a relaxing dinner. As you listen, I will be here with you every step of the way to guide you through the vocabulary, the expressions, and the feelings behind the words. So, get comfortable, maybe grab a cup of tea, and let's jump right into today's B1 English listening practice. Let's begin by meeting Sarah and Liam. The scene takes place on a rainy Saturday afternoon in a small coffee shop in the center of the city. You can hear the rain hitting the window and the quiet noise of cups clinking in the background. Sarah is sitting at a table looking at her laptop, and Liam walks in shaking his wet umbrella. He looks a bit stressed, but he smiles when he sees Sarah. Listen carefully to how they greet each other and how they start their conversation. Notice the tone of their voices. Are they happy? Worried? Relaxed? Just let the sound wash over you for this first part, and try to get the general feeling of the situation. Liam sits down and lets out a long, deep breath, showing that he is tired. He tells Sarah that the weather outside is terrible and that the bus was late because of the traffic. Sarah laughs softly and sympathizes with him, telling him that he is lucky to be inside where it is warm and dry. Then, the mood shifts slightly as Sarah turns her laptop screen toward Liam. She asks him if he has had a chance to look at the emails she sent him about their holiday booking. Now, listen to how Liam responds. You might hear a hesitation in his voice. This is a key part of listening comprehension. Hearing emotions. He says that he has been so busy with work this week that he hasn't had time to check his inbox properly. This is a very common moment in English conversations where one person is prepared and the other is not. Sarah understands, but she is also a little anxious because time is running out. She explains to Liam that if they don't book the hotel by tomorrow, the price might go up. Or even worse, the rooms might be sold out. This introduces the main conflict of our story today: the pressure of time and the need to make a decision. Notice the vocabulary Sarah uses here. She uses words like deadline, reservation, and availability. These are excellent B1 level words that are very useful when talking about travel or plans. Liam rubs his temples and looks at the screen. He apologizes to Sarah and admits that he has been really stressed lately. He opens up to her about his job, explaining that his boss has given him too many projects this month. This adds a layer of emotion to the conversation. It is not just about booking a hotel. It is about supporting a friend who is going through a difficult time. Sarah's reaction is very important here. She doesn't get angry. Instead, she softens her voice and tells him that it is okay and that they can figure it out together. This shows the strength of their friendship. Now, they start to look at the options on the screen. Sarah points out a hotel near the beach that looks really nice. She describes the pictures she sees, mentioning the blue pool and the large balcony. Listen to how she describes things using adjectives. She doesn't just say it is good, she says it looks stunning and relaxing. This helps you understand how to express enthusiasm in English. However, Liam looks at the price and hesitates again. He tells Sarah that while it looks beautiful, it might be a bit over their budget. He uses the phrase "a bit too pricey," which is a natural way to say something is expensive without being rude. This leads them into a negotiation, which is a great listening skill to practice. They have to balance what they want with what they can afford. Sarah suggests that they could stay for fewer days to save money, but Liam doesn't like that idea because he wants to have a long break to relax. They go back and forth for a few minutes. You will hear phrases like, "I see what you mean," and "that's a good point." These are essential phrases for keeping a conversation polite and constructive, even when you disagree. It shows that you are listening to the other person's opinion. Suddenly, Liam has an idea. He remembers that his cousin has a small apartment near the mountains that she sometimes rents out. He gets excited and starts searching for her number on his phone. This is a turning point in the conversation. The energy changes from worry to hope. He explains to Sarah that this place might not be a luxury hotel, but it is quiet and surrounded by nature. Sarah listens with interest. She asks him if the place has Wi-Fi because she needs to check her emails occasionally, even on holiday. This is a realistic detail that makes the conversation feel human and modern. Liam calls his cousin, but she doesn't answer, so he leaves a voice message. While they wait for her to reply, they continue looking at other options just in case. Sarah finds a guest house that seems reasonable. It is not right on the beach, but it is close to the town center. She reads the reviews out loud to Liam. Listen to how she reads them. She uses intonation to show if a review is good or bad. For example, when she reads a positive comment, her voice goes up a bit, and she sounds happy. When she reads a negative comment about the old furniture, her voice sounds more serious and lower. This is a great way for you to practice understanding meaning through tone. After discussing the guest house, they decide that it is a solid backup plan, but they are still hoping for the apartment. To pass the time, they start talking about what they will do if they go to the mountains. Liam talks about hiking and walking in the forest. He describes the fresh air and the beautiful views. Sarah is less enthusiastic about hiking, but admits that she would like to take photos of the scenery. They compromise, agreeing to do some walking, but also spend time relaxing in the village cafes. This part of the conversation is filled with future tense verbs like, "we will go," "we are going to eat," and "I would like to try." Pay attention to how they talk about future plans using different structures. Then, Liam's phone buzzes. It is his cousin. She sent a text message saying that the apartment is free for the week they want to go. She even offers them a discount because they are family. The relief in both of their voices is immediate. They laugh and high-five each other right there in the coffee shop. The tension that was in the air at the beginning of the conversation is gone. They start planning the details of their trip with excitement. They talk about driving there together, stopping for lunch on the way, and buying groceries for the apartment. As the conversation comes to an end, they pack up their things. Liam thanks Sarah for being patient with him and for doing all the research. Sarah tells him, "That's what friends are for." They agree to meet again on Tuesday evening to pack their bags. Now that we have heard the beginning of their journey, let's look at some of the key moments to ensure you understood everything. When Sarah first asked Liam about the emails, he hesitated. In English, a hesitation often tells us as much as words. It tells us he was uncomfortable or unprepared. If you are speaking to someone and they hesitate, it is a good clue to ask them if everything is okay. Also, when Sarah described the hotel, she used descriptive adjectives. Try to use words like stunning, cozy, or convenient in your own daily speech. It makes your English sound much more colorful and precise. Another important part was when they discussed the price. Instead of saying, "I have no money," which is very blunt, Liam said it is a bit too pricey. This is a polite way to handle a sensitive topic. In social situations, especially with friends, it is important to be polite about money matters. Notice how Sarah didn't argue. She accepted his point and tried to find a solution. This is called problem solving in conversation. You don't just focus on the problem, you focus on the solution. They worked as a team. Let's focus for a moment on the phrase Sarah used. Figure it out. This is a wonderful phrasal verb that means to find a solution or to understand something. She said, "We can figure it out together." You can use this in many situations. If you are lost in a city, you can say, "Let's figure out the map." If you have a difficult math problem, you can say, "I need to figure out the answer." It is a very natural and common expression in B1 English. We also heard a lot of vocabulary related to travel, words like booking, reservation, budget, reviews, and accommodation. Listen to how these words fit into the sentences. For example, the reservation is confirmed, or it is over our budget. By hearing these words in context, within a full story, it is much easier to remember them than if you just read a list. Try to write down a few of these travel words after this session and make your own sentences with them to practice. One of the challenges for B1 learners is understanding connected speech. When Liam said, "I haven't had time," did you hear how the words haven't and had blended together? It sounded like haven't had. This is natural speech. In the classroom, teachers might speak slowly and separately, but in the real world, like in this coffee shop, words link together. Do not worry if you don't catch every sound. Focus on the key words. In that sentence, the key words are haven't and time. If you catch those, you understand the meaning. Let's recap the emotions of the story so far. It started with stress and busyness. Then it moved to anxiety about the price and time. Then there was a moment of hope with the apartment idea, followed by the excitement of the final plan. A good conversation is like a journey with ups and downs. By following the emotions, you can follow the story even if you miss a word or two. Ask yourself, how does the speaker feel right now? If they sound happy, the news is probably good. If they sound frustrated, there is a problem. Now, I want you to think about your own life. Have you ever had to plan a trip with a friend? Did you have any disagreements? Maybe you argued about where to eat or what time to wake up. Use the phrases from Sarah and Liam's conversation to talk about your experience. You could say something like, "We had different ideas, but we figured it out," or "It was a bit too pricey, so we looked for something else." Connecting what you learn to your personal life is the best way to improve your fluency. We also heard the conditional tense when Sarah said, "If we don't book the hotel, the price might go up." This is used to talk about possible future results. If one thing happens, then another thing will happen. This is great for expressing consequences. You can practice this by making sentences about your daily life. For example, if I study hard, I will pass the test. Or, if it rains tomorrow, I will stay home. It follows the same logic as Sarah's sentence about the booking. Now that we have established the context of their friendship and their plans, let's jump forward in time to the actual trip. We are going to follow Sarah and Liam as they arrive at the destination and face a new set of challenges. This will help you practice listening to descriptions of places, understanding directions, and following the narrative when the setting changes. The scene opens a few weeks later. It is early Friday evening, and the sun is just starting to set. Sarah and Liam are in a car, driving up a winding road into the mountains. The atmosphere in the car is a mix of excitement and tiredness after a long drive. You can hear the car engine humming and the indicator clicking as Liam takes a turn. In the background, the radio is playing quietly. Listen to how they communicate while driving. This is a very common situation where English speakers give directions and react to changes in the environment. Liam is driving and Sarah is looking at the map on her phone. She is the navigator. Sarah tells Liam that the GPS signal is getting a bit weak because they are high up in the mountains. She sounds a little worried. She says that they need to take the next left turn, but she isn't completely sure because the screen is frozen. This introduces a feeling of uncertainty. Liam laughs nervously and says he hopes they aren't lost. He uses the phrase, "We are in the middle of nowhere," which is a common idiom used when you are in a place with few houses or people. As they drive, they talk about the change in scenery. Sarah points out how green the trees are and how fresh the air looks, even through the car windows. Describing nature is a great way to practice adjectives, so listen for words like steep, narrow, and beautiful. Suddenly, Sarah spots a small wooden sign by the side of the road. She shouts excitedly that she sees the name of the village. Liam slows down the car and turns onto a smaller, unpaved road. The car bumps over the stones, and you can hear the crunch of gravel under the tires. They are getting close. The tension of being lost fades away, replaced by curiosity about the place they will stay. They talk about what the apartment might look like in real life compared to the photos. Sarah says she hopes it is as cozy as it looked in the pictures. The word cozy here is very important. It means warm, comfortable, and safe, which is exactly what you want in a mountain cabin. They pull up in front of a small, charming house. It is made of wood and stone, with a little garden full of colorful flowers. They turn off the engine, and suddenly it is very quiet. They step out of the car and stretch their arms and legs. Listen to the sounds of their satisfaction. They take deep breaths and comment on how clean and cold the air feels. Liam grabs the suitcases from the trunk, and Sarah looks for the key hidden under a flower pot, which is what Liam's cousin told them to do. This is a specific instruction, so listening for details like under the flower pot is crucial for understanding the action. Sarah finds the key and opens the door. They step inside. It is dark, so Sarah looks for the light switch. When the lights turn on, they stand in the middle of the living room and look around. At first, there is silence. Then, Sarah starts to describe what she sees. She notices that the furniture is older than she expected, but it has a classic vintage style. She walks over to the large window and draws the curtains back. She gasps happily, because there is a stunning view of the valley below. She calls Liam over to look. This part of the conversation focuses on reactions. When you see something amazing, you might say, "Wow, look at that," or "It's breathtaking." However, as they start to settle in, they encounter a small problem. Sarah tries to connect her phone to the Wi-Fi to send a message to her family, but she can't find the network name. She tries a few times, but her phone shows no signal. She starts to feel a bit anxious. Remember in the first part, she asked if there was Wi-Fi? Liam's cousin said yes, but maybe the router is turned off, or maybe the signal is just too weak in such a remote location. Sarah tells Liam that she needs the internet to check an important work email that she was expecting today. Her voice changes from happy to stressed. Liam, trying to be helpful, walks around the room looking for the Wi-Fi router. He finds a small box in the corner with blinking lights. He checks the cables and realizes that one of them is unplugged. He plugs it back in, but they still don't have internet on their phones. Liam sits down on the sofa and sighs. He explains to Sarah that maybe the internet connection is just very slow here, or perhaps it is not working at all today. He suggests that they should just relax and forget about work for the evening. He uses the phrase, "We are on holiday," implying that work should not be a priority. This leads to a discussion about work-life balance, which is a very relevant topic. Sarah explains that she finds it hard to disconnect because she worries about missing something important. She feels a sense of responsibility. Liam listens and validates her feelings, saying he understands why she is stressed. He suggests a compromise. He tells her that if the internet doesn't work by tomorrow morning, they can drive to the village cafe and use the Wi-Fi there. This way, she can check her email, but they can still enjoy their evening now without worrying. Sarah agrees to this plan. She takes a deep breath, smiles, and thanks him for being understanding. With the issue of the internet temporarily resolved, they decide to unpack their bags. This is a great opportunity to listen to vocabulary related to clothes and daily items. Sarah takes out her sweater and mentions that it might get cold at night. Liam unpacks his hiking boots and talks about the walk they want to go on the next day. They discuss what they want for dinner. Since they haven't been to the supermarket yet, they check the cupboard to see if Liam's cousin left any food for them. They find some pasta, a jar of tomato sauce, and some coffee. Sarah says that pasta sounds perfect because it is easy to make and comforting. They move to the small kitchen. You can hear the sounds of pots and pans clanking as Sarah looks for a pot to boil water. Liam offers to help, so he starts chopping some onions and garlic that he finds in a basket. Working together in the kitchen is a wonderful way to practice listening for instructions and offers of help. You will hear phrases like, "Can you pass me the salt?" or "I will wash the dishes later." It is very practical English. As they cook, the mood in the room becomes warmer and more relaxed. The smell of the food fills the air, making the apartment feel truly cozy. While they wait for the water to boil, they sit at the small kitchen table with cups of tea. They start to talk about their lives back home. Liam asks Sarah about her family, and she tells him about her brother who just moved to a new city. This part of the conversation is more personal. It is about sharing stories. When people tell stories in English, they often use the past tense. Listen to how Sarah says, "He moved last week, and he found a nice apartment." Hearing the past tense in a natural context helps you get used to the different verb forms. Liam then shares a story about a funny mistake he made at work last week. He describes how he went to a meeting on the wrong day and sat in the empty room for 20 minutes before realizing his error. Sarah laughs, and Liam laughs too. Laughing together is a sign of a strong friendship. In this part of the audio, pay attention to the pacing. When they are telling a funny story, they might speak faster and with more energy. When they are reflecting on something serious, they slow down. Matching your listening speed to the speaker's emotion is a key skill. Their dinner is ready, and they sit down to eat at the table by the window. The sun has completely set now, and the sky is dark and full of stars. They look out the window and comment on how bright the stars are without the city lights. It is a peaceful moment. They talk about how different their life feels right now compared to the busy coffee shop where we met them in part 1. They realize how important it is to take a break and disconnect from the rush of daily life. This theme of relaxation is central to the story. After dinner, they wash the dishes together and decide to go to bed early because they want to wake up fresh for their hike. They say goodnight to each other and head to their separate rooms. The house becomes quiet again. The narrative pauses here, and I want to take a moment to explain some of the key language points we just heard. This will help you consolidate your learning and prepare you for the next part of the story. First, let's talk about the phrases used for navigation. When Sarah was giving directions, she used phrases like, "Take the next left," "The signal is weak," and "We are almost there." These are essential for travel. If you ever use GPS in an English-speaking country, you will hear similar instructions. You might also hear "bear left," which means to turn slightly left, or "take the exit," which means to leave the main road. Practice saying these directions out loud to get comfortable with the rhythm. Next, we heard a lot of vocabulary for describing a home. Words like vintage, cozy, stunning view, and unpack. When Sarah described the furniture as vintage, she meant it had an old-fashioned style that is considered attractive. When Liam said they should unpack, he meant taking clothes out of the suitcase. Think about your own home. How would you describe it? Is it modern or traditional? Is it spacious or small? Try to use these adjectives in your own sentences. We also encountered a conflict regarding the internet. This was a great example of how to express frustration politely. Sarah didn't scream or shout. She said, "I can't find the network, and I need to check an email." She expressed her need clearly. Liam responded by trying to solve the problem and then offering a compromise. This is a healthy way to communicate. The phrase "let's compromise" means we both give up a little bit to agree on something. Sarah agreed to wait until morning, and Liam agreed to go to the cafe if needed. This is a very useful phrase for business or personal relationships. Another interesting point was the use of the present continuous tense for future arrangements. When they were in the kitchen, Sarah said, "We are having pasta tonight." Even though they were talking about the immediate future, she used the present continuous. In English, when we have a plan that is already decided, we often use this form. For example, "I am meeting my friend tomorrow," or "We are flying to Paris next week." It makes the plan sound definite. Listen again to the story and see if you can catch other examples of this. Let's also look at the idiom "in the middle of nowhere." Liam used this when they were driving on the quiet road. It is a fun expression to use when you feel isolated. You could say, "We got lost and ended up in the middle of nowhere." It paints a very clear picture. Idioms like this add color to your English and make you sound more natural. Don't be afraid to learn and use common idioms. They are a huge part of fluent speech. The next morning, the sun is coming up, and it is time for their big adventure. We are going to join them as they wake up, prepare for the day, and head out for a hike in the mountains. This part of the story is full of descriptive language about nature, feelings of physical effort, and giving encouragement. The scene starts very early in the morning. It is quiet outside, but you can hear the birds starting to sing. Inside the apartment, the sun is shining through the curtains, waking Sarah up. She yawns and stretches, then gets out of bed. She goes to the kitchen and starts the coffee machine. The sound of the coffee brewing is a comforting morning noise. A few minutes later, Liam walks into the kitchen. He looks sleepy. His hair is messy, and he is wearing a warm robe. They greet each other with quiet good mornings, because they are still waking up. This is a very natural, realistic way to start the day. Liam pours himself a cup of coffee and takes a sip. He immediately smiles and says that he slept incredibly well. He uses a common English idiom here. He says he slept like a log. This is a great expression to learn. To sleep like a log means to sleep very deeply and without moving, just like a heavy piece of wood. Sarah agrees, saying that the fresh air and the silence of the mountains really helped her relax. They sit by the window for a while, just drinking their coffee and looking out at the view. The morning light is golden, and the mist is lifting off the mountains. It is a peaceful start to the conversation. After they finish their coffee, the energy in the room changes. They start to get ready for the hike. This part of the conversation focuses on preparation and clothing. Sarah goes to her room and comes back wearing comfortable trousers and a thick sweater. She tells Liam that she checked the weather app on her phone while they had a short signal burst, and she says it is going to be sunny, but a bit chilly at the top of the mountain. She advises him to dress in layers. Dressing in layers means wearing several thin pieces of clothing rather than one thick coat, so you can take them off if you get hot. This is practical advice. Liam puts on his hiking boots. He stamps his feet on the floor to make sure they are comfortable. He asks Sarah if she has packed the backpack. Sarah lists the items she has brought. She says she has packed bottles of water, some sandwiches for lunch, a first aid kit just in case, and, of course, her camera to take photos. Listen to how she lists these items. She uses the connector and naturally. Water, sandwiches, a kit, and a camera. Using lists is a common way to share information in English. They step outside the front door, and the fresh air hits them. Liam locks the door, and they start walking toward the forest path that leads up the mountain. As they walk, they chat about how beautiful the village is in the daylight. They see an old man walking his dog and wave hello. They pass by a small stream, and the sound of the rushing water is clear in the background. Sarah remarks on how clear the water is. This part of the listening practice helps you with vocabulary for the environment. Words like stream, path, forest, and village are essential for describing the outdoors. Soon, the path starts to go up. The ground becomes a bit rocky, and they have to watch where they step. This is where the physical effort begins. You can hear their breathing change a little. They stop talking for a moment to concentrate on walking. Then, Liam breaks the silence. He points to a tall tree and explains that it is a pine tree. He talks about how the needles stay green all year round. This is a good example of informational sharing. He is sharing a fact with Sarah. Sarah listens and asks him if he knows a lot about plants. He laughs and says he just remembers what his grandfather taught him. As they climb higher, the path gets steeper. This is a challenge for them. Sarah starts to breathe heavily. She tells Liam that her legs are starting to feel tired. She uses the phrase, "I am getting out of breath." This is a very useful phrase when you are exercising or doing something physical. It means you are breathing hard because your body needs more air. Liam, who is very fit, slows down to match her pace. He tells her not to worry and that they can take a break whenever she wants. This shows support and consideration for his friend's fitness level. They find a flat rock to sit on and rest. They drink some water and look back at the view. From this height, the village looks tiny. Sarah takes a photo and says she can't believe how high they have already come. She feels proud. They talk about the importance of taking breaks. It is not a race to the top. It is about enjoying the journey. This is a nice philosophical moment in the conversation. They use words like progress, achievement, and patience. Hearing these words in context helps you understand their deeper meaning. After resting for 10 minutes, they stand up to continue. However, they come to a fork in the road. There are two paths. One path goes straight up the hill and looks very difficult and steep. The other path goes around the side of the hill and looks longer but much flatter and easier. Now they have to make a decision. This is a great listening exercise because they have to discuss the pros and cons of each option. Liam wants to take the steep path because he wants a challenge and he thinks it will be faster. Sarah looks at the steep path with hesitation and says she prefers the easier path because she wants to save her energy. They negotiate for a moment. Liam says that if they take the steep path, they can have a longer lunch at the top. Sarah thinks about it. She is tired, but she also likes the idea of a long, relaxing lunch. She asks Liam if he will help her if she slips on the steep rocks. He promises to stay right behind her. Finally, she agrees to try the steep path. This part of the dialogue shows how to persuade someone gently and how to agree to a compromise. Liam didn't force her. He gave her a good reason, the long lunch. Sarah agreed, but she set a condition, that he helps her. They start climbing the steep path. It is hard work. You can hear the crunch of stones under their feet. They are talking less now because they are focusing on walking. Every now and then, Liam turns around and says encouraging things like, "You are doing great," or "just a few more steps." This is very common in English when someone is struggling. We use short, positive phrases to motivate people. Sarah smiles and keeps going, even though she is tired. Finally, they reach the top of the mountain. They step out onto a flat area, and the view opens up completely. It is breathtaking. They can see for miles. The sky is bright blue, and the mountains below look like waves. Sarah gasps and says it is totally worth it. The phrase "worth it" means that the hard work was a good price to pay for the result. She is no longer tired. She is full of energy and excitement. They high-five each other again, celebrating their achievement. They find a nice spot in the grass to have their lunch. They take off their backpacks and sit down. The sun is warm, and there is a gentle breeze. They eat their sandwiches and drink the rest of their water. While they eat, they talk about their dreams and their future plans. It is a moment of deep connection. Sarah tells Liam that she is happy she came because she needed to escape the city noise. Liam agrees and says that being in nature makes him forget his problems. This conversation is more reflective and emotional. They use words like peaceful, grateful, and perspective. After lunch, they lie back on the grass and look up at the clouds. They play a game where they try to find shapes in the clouds. It is a simple, childish game, but it shows how comfortable they are together. They laugh and point at different clouds. This part of the audio is very light-hearted. The tone is playful and slow. Listening to this kind of interaction helps you understand the rhythm of casual, friendly English. Eventually, it is time to go back down. They pack up their trash, making sure to leave the place clean. Walking down is much easier, but it can be hard on your knees. They are careful not to slip. As they descend, they talk about what they want to do for dinner. They decide that they are too tired to cook, so they will look for a nice restaurant in the village. They talk about what kind of food they want. Sarah mentions she would love a hot pizza, and Liam says he is craving a bowl of soup. The word craving means you have a strong desire for a specific food. They arrive back at the apartment in the late afternoon. Their legs are tired, but they feel happy. They take off their muddy boots and leave them at the door. They collapse onto the sofa with a sigh of relief. They look at each other and laugh. Sarah says that she feels exhausted, but in a good way. She uses the phrase, "My legs are like jelly." This is a funny idiom that means your legs feel weak and wobbly after a lot of exercise. Liam rubs his shoulders and says he needs a hot shower. Now that we have finished the story for the hike, let's take a closer look at the language and grammar we heard. There were many useful expressions and vocabulary words that you can use in your own life. First, let's review the idiom slept like a log. As I mentioned earlier, this is a very common way to say you slept very well. You can use it the next time you have a good night's sleep. For example, I went to bed early and slept like a log. It adds a native touch to your speaking. We also heard the phrase, dress in layers. This is specific advice often given for outdoor activities or variable weather. It consists of a verb dress and a noun layers. Notice the preposition in. We dress in something. You might also hear dress in warm clothes or dress in a costume. Listening for these small prepositions is important because they change the meaning of the phrase. If you forget the in, it might sound strange. When Sarah was tired, she said she was out of breath. This is a fixed expression. We don't say out of breathe, even though the action is breathing. Breath is the noun, and breathe is the verb. So, I am out of breath. I need to catch my breath. These are excellent phrases to describe physical tiredness. You can use them after running for the bus, dancing, or, like Sarah, climbing a mountain. Another key part of the conversation was the negotiation at the fork in the road. This is a classic problem-solving scenario. One person wanted one thing, the other wanted something else. How did they solve it? They listened to each other. Liam offered an incentive, a longer lunch. Sarah accepted, but she asked for support. This is a great model for real life. If you have to make a decision with someone, try offering a benefit. You could say, if we do this, then we can do that. It is a polite and effective way to reach an agreement. Let's also look at the vocabulary for encouragement. Liam said things like, "You are doing great," and "keep going." In English, we often use the present continuous tense for encouragement. You are doing well. We are almost there. It focuses on the action happening right now to give energy. You can use these phrases when a friend is studying, working, or exercising. It builds a positive connection between people. We also heard some great nature vocabulary. A stream is a small river. A path is a track for walking. A pine tree is a specific type of tree. Mist is the low cloud near the ground. Learning these words helps you describe the world around you. Try to go for a walk in your local park and see if you can name the things you see in English. Tree, flower, grass, bird, sky. Connecting words to real objects is a powerful memory tool. Finally, let's talk about the phrase, "My legs are like jelly." This is a simile. It compares legs to jelly because they are weak and shaking. Similes are fun and make your English more descriptive. Other common similes include as cold as ice, as light as a feather, or as busy as a bee. Listen out for these in movies and songs. They are very common in everyday language. As the sun has set and the sky is dark, we move into the evening of their trip. This is a time for relaxation, food, and deeper conversation. In this final part of the story, we will follow them as they go out for dinner in the village. We will practice listening for polite requests, ordering food, and describing tastes and feelings. This is a very practical skill for anyone traveling or living in an English-speaking environment. The scene begins back at the apartment. The sun has completely disappeared, and the only light comes from the street lamps outside and the warm lamps inside the house. Sarah and Liam have both showered and changed into fresh, clean clothes. They look much more energized after their showers. Sarah is wearing a comfortable dress and a cardigan because she knows it gets cold at night. Liam is wearing jeans and a nice shirt. They meet in the living room, ready to head out. Sarah checks her reflection in the mirror by the door, smoothing down her hair, and says she feels like a new person after washing off the dirt from the hike. Liam laughs and agrees, saying the hot shower was exactly what he needed. They step out of the apartment and lock the door behind them. The village is very quiet now. You can hear crickets chirping in the bushes, a classic sound of a summer night in the countryside. As they walk down the street toward the village center, they talk about how different the atmosphere is compared to the daytime. It feels mysterious and calm. They pass by a few houses with lights on in the windows, and they can see families sitting down for dinner inside. Sarah comments on how cozy it looks. They are walking slowly, enjoying the cool air on their skin after the hot hike. After a short walk, they arrive at the restaurant they decided on earlier. It is called the Rustic Spoon. It looks like a traditional house with wooden beams and a sign hanging above the door. There is a warm yellow light coming from the windows, and they can hear the murmur of voices and the clinking of cutlery from inside. This is the perfect setting for our next listening focus: social interactions in a restaurant. As they approach the door, Liam opens it for Sarah, and they step inside. The noise level rises as they enter, and a waiter approaches them with a smile. The waiter is a friendly man with a mustache. He greets them warmly and asks if they have a reservation. This is the first crucial question in a restaurant scenario. Remember, in English, we often make reservations to ensure we have a table. Liam answers politely, saying that they do not have a reservation, but they are a party of two. The waiter nods and checks his book, then tells them that he has a nice table in the corner near the window. He leads them through the restaurant, weaving between other tables, and shows them to their seats. He hands them the menus and tells them that a waitress will be with them shortly to take their order. Sarah and Liam sit down and look around. The restaurant smells delicious, like garlic, bread, and roasted meat. It makes their stomachs rumble because they are very hungry after their long day. They open the menus and start reading. The menu is full of interesting dishes. As they read, they discuss what they want to eat. This is a great opportunity to listen to how people express preferences. Liam says he is in the mood for something hot and liquid, like soup, to warm him up. Sarah, on the other hand, says she is craving something solid and filling, like pasta or a steak. They debate for a moment, looking at the prices and the descriptions of the food. Soon, the waitress comes to their table. She holds a small notepad and a pen. She asks them if they are ready to order. Here, we listen to the structure of a polite order. Liam goes first. He looks at the waitress and says, "I would like the tomato soup, please." Notice how he uses "I would like," which is much more polite than saying "I want." He also adds "please" at the end, which is standard good manners. The waitress writes it down and asks if he wants any bread with that. Liam says yes, that would be great. Then it is Sarah's turn. She has a question before she orders. She asks the waitress, "What is the special dish today?" The waitress explains that the special is the grilled trout with lemon butter. Sarah thinks about it. She asks if it comes with vegetables. The waitress confirms that it comes with roasted potatoes and green beans. Sarah decides to go with the special, but she asks if she can have the sauce on the side. This is a specific request. Sauce on the side means the sauce is served in a small separate bowl, not poured over the food. The waitress smiles and says, "Of course, no problem." After they order, they wait for their food. While they wait, they talk about the atmosphere of the restaurant. Sarah says she loves the old photographs on the walls. She points one out to Liam. It shows the village from 50 years ago. They talk about how things change over time, but the beauty of nature remains the same. This is a reflective conversation. It allows you to hear words like history, tradition, and memory. It shows how friends can have meaningful conversations even while waiting for dinner. The food arrives, and it looks delicious. The smell makes them even hungrier. They thank the waitress and start to eat. As they take the first bites, their faces light up. Liam says the soup is perfect. It is creamy and flavorful. Sarah cuts a piece of her fish and tries it. She tells Liam that the trout is fresh and the lemon butter is tangy. Describing food is a wonderful way to expand your vocabulary. Listen for words like salty, sweet, sour, bitter, spicy, and crunchy. Sarah says the potatoes are crispy on the outside but soft on the inside. This kind of detailed description makes your English come alive. While they are eating, they return to the topic of work and life, but in a much more relaxed way than before. Liam takes a spoonful of soup and tells Sarah that he has been thinking about his career. He says that being here in the mountains has made him realize that he spends too much time worrying about things that don't matter. He uses the phrase, "to step back." To step back means to look at a situation from a distance to understand it better. He says he needs to step back and prioritize his health and happiness. Sarah nods in agreement. She swallows a bite of her food and says she feels the same. She tells him that she might start looking for a new job when she gets back, one that is less stressful. This is a significant moment in their friendship. They are not just talking about holiday plans anymore. They are sharing their hopes for the future. Sarah encourages Liam, telling him that he is talented and deserves a job that makes him happy. Liam thanks her and says he values her advice. This part of the conversation teaches you how to give and receive support. You hear phrases like, "That is a great idea," "You are right," and "I support you." These are powerful phrases for building strong relationships in any language. As the meal comes to an end, they are both very full. Liam leans back in his chair and pats his stomach. He says, "I am absolutely stuffed." The word stuffed is a casual, informal way to say you are very full, like a turkey on Thanksgiving. Another common idiom is, "I couldn't eat another bite." Sarah laughs and says she feels the same. She tells him that the food was delicious and that she is glad they came here instead of cooking. They agree that it was worth the money to relax and enjoy a good meal after the hike. The waitress comes back to the table and asks if they would like any dessert or coffee. They look at each other and shake their heads. Liam says, "No, thank you. We are full, but could we have the bill, please?" The waitress nods and goes to get the receipt. While they wait for the bill, they talk about what they want to do tomorrow. They discuss the possibility of visiting a local market or just reading books by the river. They decide to play it by ear, which is a nice idiom meaning to decide what to do as the situation develops, rather than making a strict plan. Liam picks up the bill to check the amount. He mentions that the service was good, so they should leave a tip. A tip is extra money given to the waiter or waitress for good service. They discuss how much to leave, usually 10 or 15%. They leave the money on the table and stand up to leave. As they walk out of the restaurant, the cool night air greets them again. They say goodnight to the waiter and step out into the quiet street. Walking back to the apartment, the mood is peaceful and content. The village is even quieter now. Most of the lights in the houses are off. They walk side by side, not saying much, just enjoying the silence and the sound of their own footsteps. It has been a long, busy day. When they reach the apartment door, Liam unlocks it, and they go inside. They are tired but happy. They say a quick good night to each other and head to their bedrooms, ready to fall asleep as soon as their heads hit the pillows. Now, let's take a final moment to review the key language points from this evening scene. First, we focused heavily on polite requests in a restaurant. When ordering, we use phrases like, "Could I have?" "I would like," and "Can we get?" These are soft and polite ways to ask for things. If you just say, "I want this," it can sound rude. Always remember to say please and thank you. It makes a big difference in how you are perceived. Also, we heard how to ask questions about the food. Asking, "What is the special?" or "Does this come with?" are very useful for making sure you get what you want. We also learned a lot of vocabulary for describing food and feelings. We heard words like creamy, flavorful, crispy, and tangy. These words are much more specific than just saying good or bad. Try to use them the next time you eat a meal. You could say, "This chicken is very tender," or "This soup is too salty." It is a great way to practice your adjectives. We also learned idioms for being full, stuffed, and couldn't eat another bite. These are very common in casual conversation. Another interesting aspect was the discussion about the future. Sarah and Liam used phrases like, "I have been thinking about," "I might start," and "I need to step back." These phrases show that someone is planning or considering a change. The phrase "to step back" is excellent for talking about taking a break, to gain perspective. You might use it in a work context or in a personal relationship. For example, we need to step back and look at the facts. Listening to their conversation about the future also showed how to give advice. Sarah said, "You deserve a job that makes you happy." This is a supportive statement. When giving advice in English, we often use phrases like "you should," "why don't you," or "it might be a good idea to." In this case, she was validating his feelings rather than giving a direct command, which is a very gentle and kind way to talk to a friend. Let's also review the phrase, "play it by ear." This is a wonderful idiom for flexible plans. If someone asks you what time you want to meet tomorrow, and you aren't sure, you can say, "Let's play it by ear." It implies that you will decide later based on how you feel or what is happening. It is a very natural way to speak when your schedule is open. I hope you enjoyed this complete journey with Sarah and Liam. It showed you how to navigate a social situation, how to order food politely, and how to have a deep conversation with a friend. It is in these everyday moments that your fluency really grows. By listening to these details, you are training your brain to process English in real time. You have done an incredible job sticking with this long-form practice. Every part you listened to added a layer to your understanding. If you ever feel overwhelmed, just remember that you don't need to understand every single word. Focus on the context and the emotions. In the restaurant, you knew they were hungry and ordering food. Even if you missed the name of the fish, you understood the situation. That is the key to fluency, understanding the big picture. If you enjoyed this video, please make sure to subscribe to English in Fluency and leave a like. It helps us reach more learners like you. Also, I would love to hear from you in the comments. Have you ever tried to order food in English? Was it easy or difficult? Or maybe you can tell me about your favorite local restaurant. Practice your writing by leaving a comment in English. Thank you for listening to English in Fluency. I am Alex, and I look forward to seeing you in the next video. Keep going, you are doing great. Goodbye for now.